Hi, welcome to another episode of the Critical Introvert Show. I'm your host, Senor Filth, going solo today, but I'm excited to have a new caricature artist. If you wanted to introduce yourself.
Paul Evina-ze, from New York, but living in Berlin, Germany for the past 3 years.
So I guess let's just do a rundown of how did you get started as far as doing just caricature based, I guess, political art? Did anything drive you to do that, or
Doing caricature-based political art?
yeah?
Yeah, probably culminated during the summer of with COVID and the riots and Black Lives Matter protests. There was just so feelings were so strong with everyone, and including myself, and I just needed an outlet to sort of put my thoughts out there. And then as soon as I started to do one drawing, then these ideas just kept coming, one right after another, as if I didn't even have to think about it, and they were just flowing out of me. And then I just had to put them out on paper. So every day I was creating new ones, and they were getting better and better. And then I had one go viral after just 1 week after I posted it on my Instagram.
That was the Rogan one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's interesting that just the idea of humor has been kind of sucked out of the culture due to COVID. And for me, that's just been strange because I think the average person, they need some kind of a release of humor, and it feels like people have forgotten how important just being able to laugh at something. When I see your work, it's just kind of just overall just so refreshing to see that. I mean, for you, as far as your little bubble of people that you're around, do you feel that humor's kind of been sucked out of them, or we kind of stay away from that?
Well, people still think things are funny. They kind of laugh in spite of themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then they feel bad that they're laughing, but I don't know if they think about it too much. They'll laugh and then be like, oh, well, it's just a joke. And then they go back to thinking whatever they're thinking. But It's absolutely necessary. And I think when people are in the privacy of their own home, they will watch things and laugh at them. But if they were watching it within a group, they might do one of these looks to see if it's okay to laugh.
Yeah.
So it all depends.
Yeah. It feels like, as far as on a mainstream level, that humor's gotten kind of so safe, and I think maybe that's why I get this feeling that people just aren't having as much fun just overall. I don't know, how do you feel about that?
That people aren't having as much fun. Well, people are afraid and they're angry, and they're being kind of forced into this feeling of being afraid and angry, because every time you go on the news, they say something to make you afraid and angry. And then if other people aren't afraid and angry as much as you are, then you're mad at them for not feeling the way that you're feeling. And it's just this negative spiral. But that's what gets clicked, so that they're going to keep doing that kind of thing.
As far as what's going on culturally, as far as the SJW-ness, how, I guess, powerful do you think just humor is to sort of combat this stuff?
It's really important because humor cuts through all the bullshit and you just react. It goes to your subconscious, and then you just laugh, and you just oh, whoops, I laughed at that. You're laughing because it's funny, and it's funny because it's true. If you just get into this esoteric argument with somebody, about what's going on, they'll just engage a part of their brain and then just fire back responses to you that don't even really make any sense. But it's just wrapped in all these words, and you're not able to connect directly to the person. But with humor, you're able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think part of it is like has to do with like, how do I put this? Like how, I guess because of the division thing, like there's always like this, there's this good side and then there's bad side. That maybe like the humor's not like as prevalent nowadays because it's, if you present the bad side, quote unquote, as somewhat funny, you're kind of presenting them to be sort of likable. And like, do you think like that might be like a driving intention as to like why everything is so serious nowadays? Like to keep the division, like to keep people from laughing and enjoying themselves?
Well, I don't. I think there's this idea to make the other side seem stupid or immoral or just a host of negative qualities. Like it can't be funny because humor is something reserved to people who get it, you know?
Yeah.
And we've become like there's like a good side and a bad side. And on the good side, the people are moral, they have all these great qualities. And the other side, they're like petty, they're racist, misogynist, they're all these things. And there's no middle ground. Even though there is, we kind of know it is because we have an uncle that's on this side who we still see at Thanksgiving and everything's okay. We will have these people, like in Berlin, for instance, you will have these SJWs, but all their grandparents are still alive and they all used to be Nazis. So, you know, it's like there's this weird, they acknowledge that, they know that that's the case, but they're just like, yeah, but it's my grandfather, you know, which what, you know, but they're able to sort of compartmentalize these different things.
You think like the SJW-ness in Berlin is a little bit more extreme because of like the, I guess, the historical guilt out there? Like you mentioned, like their grandparents were actual Nazis. Like, is it bad because of that, or?
I would say it's the same. I mean, the way Americans talk about slavery, even though it was over like 150 years ago, it's still like fresh in the minds because they just keep putting it out there. And same with World War II. I mean, World War II is way more recent than slavery, but it's put out in the same way. So time hasn't really, it doesn't seem like one is way older than the other. So I would say it's pretty much similar. America has slavery and Germany has World War II.
Do you know how it's like taught out there, or do you have like, is that like just an off limits thing, just talking about World War II out in Berlin?
How is like history taught?
Yeah, as far as like that whole ordeal, like, do they even touch it, or?
No, they talk about it, but it's really like, this is really bad, and this, you know, I had a conversation with somebody. It's like they put it in the minds of the kids so much that it's so bad, but they never put the idea of questioning things in the minds of the kids when they're teaching them, because questioning things would be the answer to whenever something is presented that doesn't make sense and is wrong. You're able to question for yourself, like, hey, this is wrong. I don't want to be a part of this. I see where this is going. So what the institutions are doing says World War II, hating Jewish people. So they teach this one thing, like this is really wrong, so that it can never happen again. But the thing is, like with history, it never happens in the exact same way. You know, it won't be Jews in the future; it'll be something else.
Yeah.
But if you teach people to question right and wrong in overall, then when something like that happens again, they'll be able to respond appropriately. But actually, Germans are the same as they were back then, very much following the rules, listening to the government. And that's what led to that in the first place, following the rules and listening to the government.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem.
How is the public like education out there? Is it as bad as it is here. I don't know if you know about the whole CRT stuff that's going on here in the States.
CRT? No, I don't know what
like,
that is.
they're like trying to push like what's called critical race theory onto like,
Oh, okay.
and they're trying to teach that to like in public schools to like little kids and stuff like that. I think just recently, like a big teachers union out here in the States, like sort of like backed it up. Like, I mean, would you say, do you know anything of like whether Berlin is going down the same path as like teaching like ideologies to kids? Because it's getting bad here.
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. Really, I think they probably do that. Yeah, that's also a weird topic. I mean, it's a very personal topic for me because I'm half black, half white. You know,
Yeah.
so it's like half of my side of my family is like my father's from Africa, and then my mom is just really white from New England. So I have two sides of the family, and I really see things from this sort of middle ground that I don't know if a lot of people have the kind of like the privilege to be able to look at it objectively the way that I was just born into the situation where I can look at it from both sides. Yeah, and looking at people based on their skin color, which is critical race theory, it's just really bizarre to me. You kind of put people at a disadvantage by telling them that if this happens, if the police pull you over, then if you're black, you're more at risk or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like if I had that in the back of my mind whenever I got pulled over, man, that would be terrible. I wouldn't want that.
I guess let's just go into a little bit of the race thing. Like me, I'm Hispanic, and like there's the whole like Latinx thing they're trying to push into like, I don't know if you know what that is. Have you heard of that Latinx shit?
Yeah. I don't know much about it.
As far as I know, it's like they're just trying to influence people to not use the word Latino because it's gendered, because the Spanish language is gendered. There's Latino and Latina, and like Latino is male, Latina is female. So they're just trying to X that by like saying Latinx because it's more inclusive or whatever the fuck. And
who decided that?
I have no idea. I like
probably some white person who's not even Spanish.
It really is like mostly like white preppy people that try to push that. Like I don't know of any like Mexican grandmothers that would advocate for that shit. I mean, for me, I just don't know where like the SJW side is, like what do they know that where they're going with this whole race thing? Like, do you think whether they think they're helping it or
maybe overcompensating? I think being a minority allows you to be like you can like relax a little bit in a sense where you can say things that are a little bit more offensive, you can think a little bit, but if you're like white, there's all this pressure, like you're inherently guilty of something. And so they overcompensate for this feeling of guilt by trying to be overly progressive, more so than that even makes sense,
Yeah, because when I hear like progressives like preach about race, like it comes off to me more condescending than anything else, and I think that's far more like actually like offensive to me if I'm feeling condescended to. It's I can take care of myself, I can take a joke. I mean,
yeah, definitely condescending, because they're saying that they inherently have privileges that minorities don't have. And I've never felt that way. And even if it was true, I wouldn't want to think that or put that on my own kids, that you're somehow limited, because I certainly haven't felt that. I felt like being a minority has always been an advantage to me. So, and then someone's going to come along and tell me that my experience is wrong. that no, actually, your skin color has been a detriment to you, that your life would have been better if you were white, because you would have been more able to get jobs, less likely to this. And that's not been my experience. But they're gonna sit there and tell me what my experience is. And then when I say that that's not my experience, they say, okay, well then you're lucky,
Yeah.
or you don't represent the norm, because most Black people do have this experience.
Yeah.
So they're just discounting your experience just to say that.
Yeah.
David on here?
David.
Hey.
Oh.
Hey, sorry, I'm late. I
Okay.
didn't realize you sent the invite, and I was like on a phone call with somebody. And
Oh, my bad.
I'm here now.
All right.
Nice to see that Paul finally. That's your name, right, Paul?
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's nice to see you on here.
Yeah,
I was trying to get
cool.
I was trying to get Mr. Filth to have you on the show, and I'm glad to finally see that you were able to make it on the show. Cool.
Yeah, it's nice to talk about these things.
Yeah.
How often for you, like as an artist, like do you get the chance to like even talk about these things within your circle of people, I guess?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have many caricature artist friends here in Berlin, like I would normally have when I was living in America. So in that environment, then I would definitely have way more opportunity to talk about this kind of stuff.
Yeah. You have any questions, David?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, because I wasn't sure like what you guys cover. Like I got here like when he was talking about how humor is important into culture. I think it is because it's very disarming. It's like an angle that is really overlooked, especially on the right. There's people that are like more conservative. I think it's overlooked, and that's why I admire Andrew Breitbart so much, because he knew that culture was a way to kind of like unite people together, because we're never gonna agree on everything. And I think just comedy and just laughter is a good way for everybody to just lower their defenses and just realize that, to appreciate our differences instead of like focusing on trying to get us all to think the same way. We're never all going to think the same way. I think that's the problem, is that everybody's like, okay, this is the correct thing to do, or the correct way to behave is this way. No, it's like let everybody be an individual. Let them live the life that they want, as long as they're not trampling over somebody else's right. I think they have the right to live however they want. They have the right to believe whatever it is that they want to believe. So, but I'm not sure like what questions. I didn't realize that. So you're still living you're living in Berlin, Paul?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How long have you lived in Berlin? I hope it's not like overlapping what you guys already talked about. But
No, I don't think I covered this.
I was curious. How long have you lived out there for?
3 years.
Oh, okay. How do you like it out there?
It's okay. I mean, food sucks, but it's okay. It has its perks. It's very close to everything, so you can just go to a lot of different countries and stuff to travel.
So how did you end up like in a place like Berlin? How do you go from, because I think you were from Florida, right? I think.
No,
Or New Jersey?
I had a caricature booth in New Jersey for 7 years, and then I ended up here.
Yeah, because I remember like you had the little ice cream booth, right?
Yeah, I had an ice cream
The
shop.
scone coop. Yeah. And then you also did caricatures next to that booth, right? Or at the same time?
Yep.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Because I don't think I've ever seen like anybody else like that did caricatures have like an ice cream thing on the side. That's like really smart. It's just kind of like you're upselling. Like a lot of people are upselling like mats. So you're just like, oh, you want some ice cream with that too?
Are you talking about that J ice cream thing?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Oh,
I
that's
think
what
it's
that
called
is? Oh,
the
okay.
Jersey cones, right? I think that's what they're
Yeah,
called.
Jersey
See,
cone.
that they're
Yep.
like so symbolic and so I don't know, they just visually like they just appealing because like okay, Jersey cones, it's very sellable.
Yeah. But they ended up being totally different customers. It wasn't like I draw a caricature of the person and they get ice cream. They would just be totally different subset of customers. Yeah. It was interesting though.
So is somebody still running that over there in Jersey?
No. That I closed that shop down when I moved out here.
Oh, okay.
I still have all the equipment though, so eventually maybe I'll start up something here.
Oh, okay. And what was it that got you to move to Berlin? Did I miss that or?
Well, I came here basically just to learn German and stay. I was only planning on staying here for a year, but now I have a kid, so I am here.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
One of
So
those situations.
is it part because of your kid? You want like to have him like at least be able to learn a little bit of German, like growing up over there? I mean, German. Yeah, German.
Well, I didn't have a kid when I came here. I had a kid once I was here. So once that happened, then it was either like I could go back home to America, but then I wouldn't be in my son's life, or I stay here in a foreign country, but then I get to be a father. So, that's what I chose. So,
That's cool.
yeah.
I think we were talking about like just how we think like humor can be used as a weapon against like all this, I don't know what you call it, social justice, whatever. But I think another part of it is just like trying to like, I guess, sort of understand like what would drive someone to be like the SJW type, because there's a few people that I grew up with that became SJWs, and there's like some kind of personality similarities between them. I don't know, just like in the way they were, like their upbringing, I like sort of makes sense to me, like why they would like be the SJW type. I mean, did you like notice any like similarities between like the people that like grew up into that kind of shit?
I would say so. Yeah, it depends on what the topic is. If it was like feminism and stuff, it would be guys that really didn't do that well with girls, and then all of a sudden they're like these like really like feminists, and it's weird. But one of the things I noticed for sure is that when you get into these internet arguments, like on Facebook with one of these friends, and they're right, you post something and they write in the comments. It's more like performance for them, because as soon as you pick up the phone and call them, which is what I do when they're like, these will be my friends, and I'll be like, oh shit, they're really upset. Let me just personally connect with them and then just talk about this. And then as soon as I get on the phone, it's, I see where you're coming from, this. And all of a sudden they don't want to argue anymore. And it's not like I came on the phone like, hey, what'd you say? It was like, hey, I saw that you were a little upset.
Yeah.
But online, they'll be like, they are performing because they know other people are looking at their comment and watching in a way.
Yeah, they do have like a weird like showmanship quality to like their outrage that it does sound about right.
Maybe it's an overcorrection for the fact that things that you can post online can get you fired, can get you socially ostracized. So it's sort of like a preemptive thing of like, look, this is evidence that I'm a good person. They're kind of trying to, they know that whatever they put on the internet is permanent, so they're trying to, overcorrect.
Yeah. And also like, I think the internet is like the perfect platform for them, because a lot of the SJWs I know, like they were very social media like obsessed people. Like for me, I was never like into Facebook and stuff like that. I just kind of thought it was boring. But for the SJW types, like there's something about social media that like kind of gives them like a platform to like just like sell like how morally righteous they are.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it's like a drug. I think I brought this up before. I
mhm,
think when they see that like that like counter go up, they're like, oh, I said something like nice, and like all these people like me. It's like very narcissistic. They just get this high from it,
mhm.
and once they participate in that, it's like they need to like push it even harder each time to get that high. And I think that's what it. I think that's part of it. People just need to feel that connection with other people. It's like if I don't say this, if I don't speak up, people aren't gonna like me. They're not gonna acknowledge me. They're gonna think that I'm a Trump supporter or that I'm
Mhm.
this way or that way, or they're gonna think I don't like black people. I'm like, you don't even have. And that's the thing that frustrates me so much. Is like you don't have to say you're against racism to be like a nice person. Like that's like
Yeah.
that's a given. Like if you have to say it, it's almost like you are racist. Like you have guilt. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh, I like black people. You don't have to say it. That's just a person. It's like so dumb.
yeah. Mhm.
That's just the way I look at it. But I don't know.
That's a good point. I think the like counter sort of also pushes people in the direction of what kind of stuff that they post. I mean, when Facebook came out, people were just posting like, like, oh, I'm
Mhm.
going to the gym or some basic stuff.
Yeah.
They weren't really getting into like this is how I feel about something. It was just very kind of superficial. And then once the likes started coming, it started to gear you in this direction.
Mhm.
You'd write about like this. Oh, I just went to a baseball game and nobody likes it. And you go, okay. And you subconsciously, well, I'm not going to post about that anymore. But then if you
Yeah.
post about something social justice related, it's like church. Like the internet is like church for the people that don't go to church anymore. It's like,
Yeah.
and then they show up and they're wearing their like Sunday best, and people are like, wow, you look really good today. And so when they're thinking about going to church the next Sunday, they're like, how can I dress the nicest so that I get
Mhm.
more compliments?
Yeah.
And then it's not even about God anymore.
This is gonna be like a terrible comparison, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I'm an asshole. But
Do it.
it's like your dog. Like whenever you bring the treat, like they get like really excited and they start associating that with you walking them and stuff like that. And it's like the same thing with people online. Like they know if they post like like a certain thing, they're gonna start getting those likes. It's like if they're getting those treats. They're like, oh yeah, I want some more treats. Please give it to
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
And if I post
And,
something else, they're just gonna not get anything. So
mhm.
they're like
Yeah,
training people, or they're conditioning people to act like certain ways.
that's true. Yeah, it is like that.
It's weird that like you can that like your moral gratification is aligned with like a weird like hunger for fame. That's something I kind of noticed with SJW is like a lot of it is very like I think one of you guys mentioned that and it feels like a stage or feels very like I don't know it feels very like
Theatrical,
scripted, yeah,
scripted.
theatrical,
Theatrical.
scripted,
Formative, yeah.
yeah, like how the hell did this happen? Like is it purely social media? Like, I remember like when I first started Facebook, I started getting annoyed when I started people posting like political shit. That's when I started getting to like a little like kind of suspicious about it. Plus, I noticed people were starting to post rather kind of it's like somewhat radical stuff, like posting stuff that was sort of like hinting towards socialism and communism and stuff like that.
Well, I,
And
people want to be deep, but most people aren't.
uh
Most
huh.
people don't have anything to say, but then they feel like they need to say something, so they just copy and paste what somebody else says and then say it.
Hmm.
It's like same thing, like people just being really into like spirituality and all these kinds of things. It's like they want to be deep, but we're probably more shallow than we've ever been in history. Uh,
Hmm.
and then maybe there's feel this way. I mean, you kind of want to have a following with Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and there's this pressure that people need to look up to you for something. for whatever, and that's a lot of pressure to have on an individual. And so I think that this is just a reflection of people feeling like they need to be more than what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's like along with the liberal ideology too, instead of like caring about conserving anything and just caring about anybody else but yourself, it's like very inward. So everybody, I was talking about this with like another friend like the other day, like on the 4th of July at an event, but it's like art is dying. Nobody really wants to take the time to like really read books or really look, like really appreciate something that's very elaborate or sophisticated, or the history behind it. Like they just want like an instant gratification to everything, or they want something that it's all about them. It's always about them. So like when I draw caricatures, the reason why a lot of times that people are happy with what I do is because I'm indulging them in their own sort of like, I'm making them look good for the most part. And so I'm just indulging them. And that's good for us, but at the same time, it's like, what about like some of these people that spend like hours like painting things? Like it's like some of these people just are starting to be overlooked, and some of these people like writing these amazing books, people aren't taking the time to. People can't even look at a video that's like half an hour and listen to somebody, and that's the reason why we're so divided as a country, because people can't look at a video for more than 5 minutes. Like they think that watching a segment on TV that's like 30 seconds, that's like all there is to know about that topic.
Yeah.
They don't question it. They just listen to what those 30 seconds of whatever it is that they say.
Yeah.
Instead of like actually taking like even like just 10 minutes. If you take 10 minutes to like look into something, you would get like a better picture of what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I think what, like you mentioned, like people aren't taking the time to like, appreciate something. Like I was talking about this with my girlfriend, and I just noticed like we we're having a conversation about like I'm not getting a sense that like kids nowadays are like as dorky about things as like we were when we were growing up.
Yeah.
Like when it
Wait,
came
really?
to, huh?
Really?
I guess like from like all the like 20 something on under, like when kids are into something, I don't really get a sense that they're like genuinely dorky and geeky about it. Like
But you're talking about like the niche likes, right? Like the very
kind of, yeah, like it's very like trendy, they move on the trend, they move on. Like there's nothing that like I don't think that there's gonna like the idea of like a Star Wars type nerd kind of thing going on. I worry that's going to be kind of dead. I mean, maybe it's a social media thing because everything's so fast or something like that. But like to have someone like just appreciate something, even if it's remotely dorky or geeky, like I don't like. For me, I don't get that from like a lot of like younger people, especially like in kids in their 20s. Like, when I ask them about music, it's just like, oh yeah, it's all right. Yeah, they're like, there's no one that's like genuinely dorky about like punk or something like that. Oh, that this is good, but there's some stuff from the 70s I listen to, or I collect this. And
well, I think part of it is that they don't have like the investment that we used to have like growing up, because when I guess like we're all about the same age, but like when I grew up, like if you wanted to go read a book, you had to actually like get on your bike and then like ride your bike like a few blocks and go to the library, get a library card and like check out the books. Or like if you want like a record, you have to go to the record store, go there with like the money that you saved up doing whatever it is that you have to do, like cleaning backyards, cutting the grass, stuff like that, like, or buying records. It's just there's no investment. Like everything's at their fingertips. So it's just like that investment's like, oh, the Clash, it's right there, but they don't go further, or they do, but it's not, they don't have that connection anymore. They don't have that passion that we used to have, like where we'd actually go out there like into shows, and like we don't have that. There's like a disconnection with the experience. That's what it is.
Go ahead, Paul.
There's no investment for them. So like you said, it's like they don't have to spend the money that they earn for the whole week to buy the CD. And because they didn't have to do that, they don't listen to the CD over and over and over and over again, and then get the deeper meaning of it, because they listen to the CD, if they even get through the CD, and then they move on to something else. And there's no investment, there's no time, because I mean, at least even when we were getting stuff for free by downloading it on the internet or downloading it, it would like take, at least for me with my dial-up connection, it would take like an hour.
Yeah, I would leave it on like all night, like, okay, I'm gonna get this like tomorrow morning.
It would still only be like 1 or 2 songs. It wasn't like you could just immediately watch something or immediately listen to a song that you really wanted. You'd have to wait before the song that you wanted to listen to would play on the radio, and you didn't know when that was going to be. It was just this sort of like, oh, my song's on, turn it on.
Like
you had no control.
You guys ever make like mixtapes back in like in the 90s? Like just wait for your song. That's what I used to do. Like that's why like I appreciate music a lot more than a lot of these kids nowadays, because I would wait for that song, and I knew how that song started at the very beginning. And I would get pissed like when the DJ would like talk over the beginning of it. I'm like, dude, this is like the best part. And I would like just say click, and I would record it, and I have like a bunch of songs on my little cassette. But they don't have the investment, they don't have the same passion, because there's no connection anymore.
Like that's like the double-edged sword with me, with like the convenience of everything. Like as far as like even like with music, you could just go to YouTube, search a song, you find it. Like for me, like I'm a record collector, so for me, it's like there's a dorky joy when I find a record that like I was looking for, and like no one knows what the hell music I'm getting, but like I just had this appreciation because I was looking for it. Like it was something that was on my radar. Yeah, exactly. And like I worry that kids are like gonna like miss out on just taking the time to just enjoy something for what it like, whether it's a certain kind of movie genre or something like that. I think that's gonna just overall affect art.
And the sad thing is that it's all interconnected, because if you get everything easy without investment, you're gonna be conditioned to think that everything is that way. And personal relationships with people aren't this way. You don't just meet your best friend, I mean, it's something that takes time, to foster relationships, or to be in a committed relationship with someone that you like. That's going to get worse and worse and worse as time goes on, because people are just going to move over. They're going to be sampling music the way that sampling people the way they sample music. They don't really get to know the person the way they don't get to know the music.
That's funny.
When it comes to dating, like that whole thing, like the speed of everything, but plus on top of that, with like this whole COVID thing, that's really got to like just be a nuclear bomb to like just the future of dating for so many people. Like, just the idea of like not being able to see people's face at a bar, like a cute chick at a bar, because the whole she looks at, because she has a fucking mask on. Like that's gotta really affect dating, and like in the long term. I mean, it's just something I'm thinking about.
People, if you meet up with a girl on Bumble or Tinder, they're not wearing like a mask or something, I think when people are motivated by certain things, they sort of forget about, social distancing and stuff. It's like, 3 meters. Oh, but this guy's attractive, so I'm just gonna forget about that with this person,
Maybe like. Because I talked to some of the girls at my job about like how their dating life is, and it's always like these like Tinder like kind of nightmare stories, and they're not like super promiscuous girls. They're like they're genuinely nice girls, they're cool, and they're just like back in my head like, damn man, like if it's hard, they just can't go to a bar and just see like who's out there. You have to like and like they'd be like the most like. They're like the super like scared vaccinated, like I wear my mask anyways because just to be safe kind of girls.
Okay.
And how the hell is dating like for you, just in general?
We never, we in Germany, one thing that we did differently, they never had a mask mandate for being outside. So although we were used to wearing masks inside and on trains, it was always that period of like, if you're outside, there was never a point where they were like, oh, you could transmit it outside heavily. There was always, you don't have to wear your mask. So we never had that crazy, the way that it seemed like in America, where it was just like a war all the time.
Yeah.
What it seemed like to me.
I'm curious, like, how different the media, like, portrayal of COVID is for you in Berlin versus like here in the States, because I don't really watch anything mainstream news related, but like I see some people, like just the average person just seems so afraid about this thing. Like, you know, they're wearing 2 masks, they're driving in their car with the mask and shit. And, you know, they're bragging how they got vaccinated and they're trying to get everyone that they know vaccinated. And, like,
I don't know.
is
And the
it just
weird
as
thing
bad
about
there?
it is people who are so afraid, they still somehow end up getting COVID, and
Yeah.
then their mind doesn't change after they realize, oh, it's not even that bad. It's like you would think like the anticipation of like, oh, if I get it, I don't know how I'm gonna react, I don't know this, but then they get it, and then it's like they get through it, and then they still have that crazy fear, which is beyond me. Like, where's the fear coming from if you've literally had it?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because is there any like phenomenon too, like if someone is like overtly scared of a sickness, like doesn't it trigger them to get like worse if they get sick or something like that? Or I think I heard that from somewhere.
Well, if you're stressed out, your immune system becomes like compromised by just being stressed, staying inside all the time. I don't know.
Yeah, because that's a big thing for me. Like this past year, this whole COVID thing, just like wondering like what information people are getting regarding this whole COVID virus. Because I only kind of picked it up here and there, but there was nothing for me to like, you know, lock myself in my room and be so terrified. I was just kind of generally approached it with like a bit of like mystery, but you know, I was always optimistic about it. I just wonder like what information are people getting, or maybe like what opinion are they getting repeatedly regarding this COVID thing?
Oh, can I answer? Or?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just thought about this like off the top of my head when you were saying that. I think they've been studying us for years, and especially like, through Facebook. And I don't know if you remember like the connection that we did with like LifeLog, because LifeLog came out, and I don't know if you read the Wikipedia. It was supposed to like it admitted that it was studying like our every move for whatever purpose. And I think over the years, the same way, I don't know if you guys noticed like with MySpace too, like if you started sharing like certain information, like what bands you listen to or what interests you're into, you would start seeing those pop-ups. This is like years ago. Like you start seeing, oh, okay, like you see bands or you start seeing products that you normally purchase, right? So I think that the interface, like your internet browser, is articulated or is modified in a way to cater to you. So not just to sell you stuff, but also to scare you. So I think everybody's phone, like they have enough information on your phone, like that, like things that you share, like stupid little things that you don't think really matter. All that information, it's gone through like probably a quantum computer or some kind of computer, and it's because I've done this study where with my brother where like we'll go to the same browser and his layout will be completely different like than my browser, even though like we're looking at it at the same time. So the things that you're looking at are edited or modified in a way to cater to you, to scare you or to sell to you. So I think that's like that's a real thing, because and that's all through social media. Any information that we're sharing, like right now, us talking right now, they're studying us. So all this information is going to be out there in the cloud somewhere. That's just my opinion.
But it's interesting. You said cater to, because like in a way you would see it would sound like as if they're giving you something that you want, but really they're giving you something that you click on. You know, so catering to you could be giving you good stuff, because if you like to click on stuff that you like, but if you click on stuff that you don't like, oh, I can't believe this person has this opinion, and you click on it, then they just keep sending you that, because it doesn't necessarily, it can't differentiate between what you like and what angers you. All they know is what you click on and what you comment on. So then they just reinforce. So if you have a negative mindset, it reinforces that. If you have a positive mindset, it reinforces that.
I think so, yeah. I think
based on what you click on and what you look at. My problem is on things that piss me off, and then I get more of that.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've noticed that. Because I've noticed, like, what you're talking about, that's the reason I'm agreeing with you, because I've noticed, like, when I go into that, like, rabbit hole, like, why am I, like, looking at these people that I disagree with? Like, let me not argue with these people. Let me just walk away. And I've gotten better. Like, I don't really fight with anybody online. Like, it's a waste of time. But yeah, it's like they get you. It's like they get you to see that information to get you mad, to get you to, like, interact with these people, or some of them could be even bots, or like just not even real people.
Yeah. I guess to go a little bit further with this whole information thing, it was a real, I don't know, shock to me when not only that people were getting this information, but like just how like accepting they were of the information they were getting. Like I didn't get any sense that the people were like, okay, I got this, but maybe there's more to the story, or blah blah blah. It's just they just like this weird trust in the media that I never realized people had. I thought there was always this general, because even from like what was it, that Simpsons episode, the Venus de Milo episode? I don't know if you remember that one. Where Homer like picks the dummy Venus de Milo from the girl's butt. Yeah, and like the media like portrays him as like a sexual offender and stuff like that. Yeah. I always thought like the message from that episode was just like, you know, don't take this like extreme media perception like so seriously. Could be more to it. And then, you know, this whole COVID year comes out, and like I there's no sense that people are like even questioning anything. They're just so weirdly devoted to, or like accepting that like what the information is, what they're given is truth, and there's no you know, point in questioning it. Like, this is the truth because I heard it from, you know.
Once you make someone angry and afraid, then you bypass everything. They're no, it's like pure emotion at that point. I mean, that's with anyone. I mean, you're driving down the road, you're this rational person, and someone cuts you off. Now immediately you're angry and afraid, you know, afraid that you're gonna get in an accident, angry that this person did that. You're not thinking rationally at that point. So if somebody were to say to you, why weren't you thinking rationally at this point? It wouldn't make sense, because it's like you can't when you're angry and afraid. So all the news has to do is really keep you in that state, and then they can just keep feeding you whatever. So it's not like, why are they believing this stuff that doesn't make any sense? It's why are they so afraid? Because you stop that, then you stop the other things.
Yeah. Also, like how did it become so easy to like scare people like through the media? I mean, like I could watch a news segment and just see like how like fake it is, and so I just started genuinely laugh. Like that's how I sort of followed the news throughout these years, was just following how bad it was.
But even if it's real, it's misleading, because there's somebody who wins the lottery every day in America, in every state. And if they just kept posting that, you would think there's like this epidemic of people winning the lottery.
Yeah.
But you know that there isn't, because you know that there's a ton of people that play and that don't win. You know that. But the thing is the people, the news will show an incident. Maybe it's like they will show these exceptions to the rule, and then they keep showing it over and over again. So people think there's an epidemic of Black people getting beat up by cops or whatever. But it runs on the same principle as like the lottery. You know, it's like they take these rare events and they make it seem like it's happening. You can't, if you're black, you can't even sleep in your own bed because you could still be killed. I mean, there was that narrative with the whole Breonna Taylor thing, which is like, if you were to believe that, that would be, why would you want someone to be so afraid that they think that I literally can't sleep in my own bed or I'm gonna wake up and someone's gonna shoot me? That's a horrible thing to put on other people. But,
yeah, but like when you heard like you can't sleep or else you'll die, like for you probably thought like that's pretty extreme. There's more to it.
yeah.
Like, but like, how did it become a point where like people just accept that as like, oh my god, I have to, sleep in fucking army riot gear or something like that? Like, I'm getting like a strong, almost paranoia from just regular people that are like I know and I grew up with, and I'm like, it's someone you expect to be like a paranoid schizophrenic, but when it's like, your parents are scared to hug you because, you got COVID, and so I'm just like, what news are you getting? Like, you can hug me, it's fine, like, I just never. Maybe it's again like I'm not sure if it's always been there, like the trust has always been there, or maybe it's a combination of that and like COVID just drove it through the fucking roof. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, because you're saying people are just trusting what the media says. I mean, I think that's like, I don't know if that's the right thing, because it's like, if Fox News says it, then they're just going to distrust everything that they say. So it really depends on the source. It's like, once they decide that they trust a source, then they just take everything. And once they decide that they distrust the source, then they discard everything.
I guess I'm just surprised, like, just the trusting of the source so blindly. Like, even if one of you guys showed me a video or a picture of something, I would like be like, okay, but I'd still like in the back of my mind, like, I'm pretty sure there's a video of it that just shows more. I mean, maybe that's just me, but I thought that this was something that just normal people just kind of did. Like, there was always this ounce of like skepticism that I think is.
Well, for every person that is always accepting everything, there's always gonna be people who are just skeptical of everything, and that's just as bad too, because then you got the person who's just always gonna be like, well, that's fake. There's no way that could be real.
Yeah.
And they're constantly just saying everything around them is like that these things can't happen, which also is a bad place to be too, I think. But I think there's a lot less people that are just skeptical about everything than there are about people that just accept everything. There's way more people that accept everything. So
Really?
that's why it's more of a problem.
Yeah. I guess that's the thing that's more surprising. I just didn't realize that there was so much people that were on the accepting side than there was like on the skeptical side. Because I thought it was just like the natural instinct to just have at least some skepticism. But
Why? Why would that be natural?
I don't know. I guess just for me, it's just how I was, how I am, and how like my dad and my brother and my family are generally, at least when I was growing up, they seemed a little bit more, question everything. It's like they sort of.
That's exhausting.
Yeah, I guess.
That's exhausting. Most people don't want to question anything. Why would they? I mean, there's so many things that they're interested besides what's going on. They just want to just be able to. I mean, if that's not their primary focus and they're trying to do something else, maybe they're doing whatever their job is. It's like they just don't have the time or the interest to just be skeptical. Because to be skeptical means you also got to do research. It means you got to, I don't know. It's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. I think part of it is people trust professionals. I think that's what it is. Like okay, let's say like you're gonna go do something you've never done before. Like if you're gonna go like out to swim out in the ocean, and then you would trust somebody that said they were a professional, right? Like you would say, oh, okay, like if you have to swim this way, you have to, go around this way and to avoid the sharks. So you don't really question them because they claim to be professional. So I think that that's part of it, and a lot of it is that it's all these professionals saying that they know how things are done, and that's why it goes back to a lack of experience. A lot of people don't have that direct experience, and a lot of the little bit of information that they get, it's not connected with any sort of experience. And that's why people are just accepting it. It's like, well, this is what I heard and I haven't experienced it, but since I'm getting it from a professional, I trust them because how else would I know? If that makes any sense. Like they're just trusting people because they're allegedly professionals. They're these scientists, they're the doctors, they're the politicians, they're professional politicians.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going swimming and there's a lifeguard there, you're gonna ask him to prove that he's a lifeguard, prove that he can swim. Where's your credentials? If someone's a cop pulls you up, are you gonna be like, how do I know you're a real cop and you're not just dressing up one, impersonating an officer? I mean, there's no limit to what you can be skeptical of. That's the problem. So there's got to be a point where you see a badge and you go, okay, it must be real. Or I see this and you see a lab coat and he's a doctor. You know, so you can be, because people are like that, you can also be tricked pretty easily in the same way.
I guess like I guess you're right. Like there is like you don't have to necessarily question everything, else you're not gonna be able to like just live. But like, I just, for me, I like when it's regarding just basic freedoms, like I was just surprised that no one had even a general curiosity to like know things a little bit more. Like maybe like in mid-May, I think it was. There was this press conference from like a Dr. Eric Williamson or something like that, somewhere in like Northern California, and they were talking about the shutdowns and like from their research, like they didn't really see anything that really justified like such harsh shutdowns. And I just watched the video just to learn a little bit more about what was going on. And I remember sharing that with some people, and like I didn't expect him to like think that I was like this crazy conspiracy theorist, but that's what like the response that I was getting. And I was just like, it's just a press conference. Like it's a month into the shutdowns. These guys are making some, relatively fair points. They're being asked, good questions by reporters, but like there was just this immediate like disinterest, or even like an anger towards me, like to share this shit. Yeah, I guess that's when I started becoming sort of worried with this whole COVID thing. Like what overall intentions behind like these shutdowns, and just more, I was more worried about like the people around me than the actual virus itself. Like what's it going to do to them?
Well, I think once people get attached to an idea or a feeling, then they don't want that thing it becomes comforting in a way. And if you challenge that, then they even things that even people's problems can be comforting to them if they can talk about it to somebody, whatever it is, negative state of mind. So it's like I don't know. I think they believe what they want to believe, and they just don't want you to change their mind, especially considering that if what they believe in, there's fear and anger involved in it, then they can't even consider your argument, because you're just posting a video, but your video contradicts what they believe, and what they believe came from a place of fear and anger. So of course they're going to be angry at you.
Okay.
In other words, I think what Paul is saying, maybe I'm wrong. They're kind of like just projecting. It's not about you. It's like they're projecting onto themselves, right? Like their own anger, they're projecting their own anger onto you. It's like, oh, okay, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, I mean, think about it. If you like something and you have an opinion on it, like I think this food is the best, and I came to that conclusion based on myself and my own taste buds. If someone's like, no, it's not the best, it's not going to make you mad, because it's like, it's based on your experience, and it didn't come from a place of anger and fear. It just like came from a place of, I like this food, it tastes good, and if you don't like it, well, whatever. But if the thing that you're talking about, this video, they got to their opinion with these feelings and these emotions, then that's why they're going to have a different response.
So when did it become a thing where like people are like are like trumping facts with their own opinion? Like when did opinion become more important than like searching for facts or truth? Like,
well, because we've been told that feelings, there's something truth. There's truth behind feelings, you know, and that's being pushed out there more. That gender is based on your feelings. What's right and wrong is based on your feelings. And the thing is, your feelings change from day to day. There is no true inherent truth behind feelings. If something makes you upset, then that is evidence that it's wrong, right? But you could eat meat. I could eat a hamburger and it's not going to make me upset. It tastes good. But then if I see somebody kill a cow and then turn it into a hamburger and then give it to me, then I'll be upset.
Yeah.
But it's just like there's no truth there, because in one, I was just given it in a way, it presented it to me in a way that doesn't cause an emotional response. But okay, I'm getting into it.
You can keep going. It's cool.
But yeah, so just basically that feelings aren't related to any kind of empirical truth. And that's where outrage culture comes from, because the people who are the most offended and the most upset are seen as being morally superior. The more upset you get by the more things, the better person you are. Obviously that's not true, but that's what I think.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think like where that kind of came from, because it's like when you were a kid and there was in school and there was the kid that was the crybaby, that like was the brat, like those are heroes. Like no one liked that kid back in the day, but now that kid's given like a talk show and fucking a book deal. And
well, it's like your question. You said, why is victimhood so in right now? And victimhood allows you to something bad just has to happen to you, and then you become a hero. The word hero is being redefined in a sense, because to be a hero is to be selfless and do things for other and risk yourself. But we're calling victims hero. You know, it's like something bad happened to you. You're not a hero because something bad happened to you. You're a victim. That's a different word.
It's also being subsidized by the government, like our tax dollars. Like, for example, like I've always had like this. I don't know if this is gonna sound like wrong, but but I've always racist or just like insensitive, because I've always noticed that like people that have those disabled placards on their cars, I don't know what kind of disability that they have, but they're just really bad drivers and they're very inconsiderate. And like there's been like many times where like they've almost like ran me over. And then there's like this one experience where it was me and my brother were walking to the market, and out of nowhere this one lady just like came down the parking lot and like hauled ass and like almost like ran right into us. And the only reason like she missed us was because we jumped out of the way.
Wow.
And then I was sort of reacting, but I was mad. I was like, what's wrong with you? It's like, you almost hit us. Like, the only reason you didn't hit us because we moved out of the way. We dodged out of the way. And she's like, I saw you. It was like, okay. It's like, yeah, but that's not the point. The point was that you're not supposed to like run over people. And then like somebody out of nowhere like starts defending her. I'm like, okay, I understand she's disabled, but I'm just trying to like point out, it's like, just because you're disabled doesn't entitle you to anything else. It entitles you to that parking space that's like close to the wherever you're going, but you're not entitled to anything else. And it's just that we're subsidizing that kind of behavior through our tax dollars. And it's just, I think that's something that's grown, because this happened like years ago, and that's something that I've noticed, that the government subsidized this kind of behavior for years, especially the area that I grew up in. And I've wanted to say something, but it's like you can't really say. I thought it was going to get better, but it's only gotten worse. It's only getting worse and worse and worse. And I'm like, this is something I thought it was going to get better, and it seemed like it got better, but it's only getting worse.
Yeah, like I assume that like kids acting like SJWs acting annoying and bratty would just, everyone would just see them and be like, oh, fuck them, and then that whole problem would just kind of extinguish itself. But it seems like it's gotten worse. Like
Yeah, the problem is that they're lacking experience, and the thing is that they leave home and they go to like a lot of them go to out-of-state colleges, and where they don't know anybody, so they're vulnerable to brainwash. So they accumulate over like 3 or 4 years a lot of information, but a lot of information is like pseudo information. It's just is indoctrination. It's just information that they want to give you, but you don't have direct experience. Most of them don't have like any direct work related experience, so there's just like brainwash. So it's all just information that they have in their head, but they haven't really connected it to like any sort of experience of working with their hands or working with people. So they don't really know what it's like to like work with people from different backgrounds.
yeah,
They don't know what it's like to actually like they say they know like Hispanic people, they say they know like Black people, or they say, but they haven't really worked with each other. They just have all this information, and they're just trying to be righteous because of what they learned in school. It's like, how about you just go out, work with these people, treat them just like human beings, and just learn how to do the job without having to listen to all these professors that are brainwashing you.
yeah. It's like I just don't understand like how it became trendy to be like a victim.
Because it's easy. It doesn't require you to do anything.
Is that what it is, you think?
I mean, you get attention, but you don't have to create anything. Something bad just has to happen to you, and then people feel bad for you, and that's why. But nobody actually really wants to be a victim. They don't really want things bad to happen to them. Then they just get offended easier over like small things, so that they can be the victim without actually being victimized.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a question for you, Paul. Like, how was your upbringing? Like, did you grow up with parents or like father, mother figures, or how did you grow up?
Well, I'm half black, half white. My father, they were married till I was 10, and they got divorced. And then it was just growing up in a single household, and then my mom got in a relationship with another woman. So I have that experience too. So I have lots of different experiences. And my neighborhood was very diverse. It was probably like 1/3 white, 1/3 Spanish, and 1/3 black.
Where did you grow up?
Newburgh, New York. It's like an
Okay.
hour outside of New York City.
See, you don't have any excuses. So like all these people complaining that they didn't grow up with their father, their mothers, like you're a good example that you can grow up to be like a successful, like a decent human being.
Yeah, I mean, I would say my personal experiences has shown me a lot of things, because within my household, my sister, she graduated top of her class. She went to Harvard for undergraduate, and just reached the pinnacle of what she wanted for herself. And then on the other flip side, my brother is in prison, and he's been in prison for a long time now. And he's always been a victim, saying he's a victim. Oh, I can't because of this and this and this. So within the same exact household, you have on the one side, you have my brother, and then the other side, you have my sister. and we both had the exact same experience. So when people talk about their upbringing and childhood and all these things, I know that you can make it work for you either way. If you're positive, or if you choose to be a victim, then you will be.
So yeah, you're saying like, yeah, you have a choice, right? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I guess to go back on the victim thing, like when I hear like SJW types like say that, you know, like Black people can't do this because they're so oppressed and blah, 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 like they're instilling like this inherent like religious like victimhood in them. Like, how do they not realize that that's actually kind of a crippling kind of idea to put into people, instead of like, you know, giving them, you know, encouraging kind of like, you can make it through this, blah blah blah. It's just this like very downer view on the world.
It's really patronizing.
Yep.
Okay, you're asking why?
I mean, like, do you think they realize that like what they're doing is actually like worsening the problem, or do you think that they're just so caught up with just virtue signaling kind of thing?
Yeah, it's like you said, I think it's just virtue signaling that one second, that charges. Yeah, I don't think they really want to fix the problem. They just want people to be angry, and I don't know. It's yeah, I really don't know.
Yeah. Well, they want like Black people and like minorities to be dependent off of like white people and just like these politicians and government. And so it's so patronizing. And I think some of them do realize what they're doing. They're like propping themselves. It's like they just love that feeling of, it's real racism. Like it exists, and that's where the real racism is, that they're propping themselves up. Okay, it's they're treating us, or they're treating minorities like we're kids. Like, oh, you can't go vote, you can't do this, you can't do. What the hell are you talking about? Like, it's like, so it's very patronizing, and it's like they're putting themselves up like they're kings and queens. I'm like, no, it's like their passive aggressive way of being racist, but at the same time being like these I don't know, overlords.
Yeah.
And when you tell them that, like, well, I'm a minority and I'm able to do that, then like, well, you're lucky then. You know, never.
Good for you. Let me go find somebody that's insecure.
Yeah, I've gotten
a victim.
Yeah, I've gotten like that pushback, like, well, good for you, I guess, and then they just kind of walk away from me, kind of shit. Like, all right, you're a nice little person there.
Like, they're able to make this sweeping generalization, and then call you an exception, but then you're not able to say the opposite, that I'm not an exception.
Yeah. How long have we been going for? We usually do this show like an hour and a half.
It's 7:32 right now. So.
I guess we can kind of start like wrapping up a little bit. I think it's been about that time. I guess Paul, if you want to, like, I don't know, plug anything that you're working on or anything like that, your website. Or a book.
Are you still selling your book? Your president's book? Are you still selling that one?
Oh yeah, I'm still selling that. It's just a children's book about presidents of the United States. So yeah.
All right. I guess we can just ask, like, I mean, like, what drove you to do that book? I mean, specifically for kids.
Well, it was I just know that like a lot of American, we don't know who the presidents of the United States are. They, there's 46, but I think on average, people might know like between like 5 and 10. And I thought like by making a book with like funny facts that weren't particularly, that were just funny, not necessarily like relevant, would just help connect in the minds of kids the president through this fact, and then they will remember the name. And so if they know the names of more presidents than they did before, then it'd be a win for me, I guess.
Yeah. All right. I guess Benevolent, if you had any final thoughts.
Yeah, I would just like to say, yeah, guys, if you guys haven't checked out Paul's book, make sure you guys check it out. It's really cool. It's got all 46 presidents and has like very interesting facts on each one, and has like I think that visual association of the president and the fact is a really good idea, just because it lingers in your mind, and it's a lot easier for you to make those connections. And I think he did it was a success in being able to accomplish that. So check it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
I guess we'll end it there. Thank you guys for watching. It's another episode of the Critical Introvert Show. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you another time. Bye.